6 foreign countries American expats are leaving in droves and why. Good morning everyone and welcome to Retire Early Lifestyle. Which foreign countries are Americans leaving in droves and why? Well, let's get started. Number 6, Portugal. There are more people leaving Portugal than going there. The main reason people are leaving Portugal is because they realized it just wasn't for them. It's not what they were told. It's not what they expected. Where have we heard this before? The scene played out perfectly. Drum roll, please. It starts out cheap, ends up higher than back home. All the affectionate little flaws become warts, and every beautiful thing turns into a pumpkin after all. The bigger cities along the coast where everyone wants to live are getting so expensive now that even the expats don't want to pay the high prices. Why go abroad to pay more than back home? When enough of the locals have had enough that they can't afford to work and live in their own cities, the government is then pressured to put their foot down and the party's over. When the tax incentives go bye-bye, so do the big investors and developers and the Airbnb types because it's no longer lucrative for them, or it's just outright banned. Once expats start leaving, it starts a movement where people are like, well, if they're leaving, I guess I will too. Follow the crowd mentality. Moving to a new country is trendy and leaving is a trend. Let's face it. But we've been telling you this for
3 good reasons not to move to Portugal right now. It's like you pick this spot on the map and you call it the best place to retire, and all of a sudden it's got all this inflow. In and of itself, it becomes the exact reason why you wouldn't want to move there.
Number 5, Panama. Panama actually bubbled and popped already right before the pandemic. So people left Panama and now there are less foreigners moving there than ever before, even though Panama gets named somewhere in the top 10 list by the Rams all the time. Figure that one out. We think Panama has been overly promoted and it's gotten too expensive. During the 2020 pandemic, Panama had a very long and strict lockdown, and many of the foreigners left before they were stranded in the city. It's no surprise that during a crisis, people tend to want to be in their home country where they speak the language and feel comfortable being around family and friends and their familiar environment. And so that's where Panama is. Number 4, Costa Rica. I know we mentioned Costa Rica a lot. Costa Rica is just too spent, too overrated, and too many times on the top 10 list by the Rams. Like we mentioned in a previous video, Costa Rica is an anomaly. As many people leave, the same amount move there, so it never really dies down too much or for very long. Costa Rica is a great place to visit, but the turnkey or revolving door is very rapid. It's the one country that has a perpetual gringo vicious cycle. Other countries such as Panama are quickly becoming the same ongoing revolving bubble. Number 3, Ecuador. People have been leaving Ecuador since 2017. Then it picked up a bit in 2019, but then the pandemic hit and she hasn't bubbled like that first time since. It's not because it's not a great country with wonderful people, because it is. Ecuador seems to always have a place in the top 10 list by the Retire Abroad media, and we think it probably would have produced another bubble if it wasn't for the strict policies during post-2020 with all kinds of mandates at the airport and on the ground. For a time, they made it so you could not travel in or out of the country without being bodily trespassed, which that happened in so many other countries such as Philippines, Argentina, Panama, and Canada, just to name a few that wouldn't let people, including foreigners, leave during the pandemic lockdown. Ecuador has its share of problems. Lots of people left Ecuador. We even made a video about it. As we always say in our videos, how a country behaves during a crisis is a sure red flag of caution for the coming behaviors down the road, whatever those might be.
Lots of people have left Ecuador. It's just that they don't advertise it. They don't get on some list. People that left Ecuador, look here, honey, there's a list of, a few hundred people, or maybe even a few thousand people that have left Ecuador. There's no such list. You won't find it anywhere. And it's not common for people to talk about. And I've previously said, when people leave a place, they don't make a vlog about it. They don't make a video about it. What you see is videos about going there, not leaving there. That's what you see. We've spent the better part of a decade in Ecuador, and we've been through the promotions, the Retire Abroad promotions, and we've seen what an actual man-made bubble looks like. I mean, we were in the middle of it, and if you don't know what that's like, it's treacherous. And I've seen expats thrown out of their $300 rental that we helped them get, and then all of a sudden the landlord wants $550. And if you're scoffing because you're like, yeah, $550, big deal, don't worry. On the next round, it'll go from $550 to $850, and then $1250, and then what I'm saying.
And now, what is keeping people out of Ecuador is the country is overrun by violent gangs and drug cartel, and it has unacceptable amount of crime. The rampant crime in Ecuador is something we saw coming and warned our followers way before it spiked to the point it is now in the news. No matter what anyone tells you, crime is not getting better. It's getting worse, and it's out of control, okay? Watch out for vloggers who say they feel safe. Our son lives in one of the best neighborhoods in Cuenca, and there was a fatal shooting just 2 blocks away from his home. Does that sound safe to you? Yes, we're greatly concerned about crime in Ecuador, and it remains to be seen what is going to be done about the rampant crime. Number 2, Thailand. Why are people leaving Thailand? Thailand is a very exotic nation, and it goes without saying that it would make a better vacation than a permanent stay for so many reasons. There are 2 top reasons why expats leave countries, and they are: people leave when they move to a country with certain expectations about how it's going to be, but it never ends up being the way you thought it would. And for one reason or another, they have a difficult time adapting. Well, that goes along with our idea that Thailand is just too exotic for a long-term stay for most people. The honeymoon period of foreign living is great, but after it wears off, guess what? They miss familiar things from back home. So, what are longtime vloggers living in Thailand saying? They say the same thing that we've been telling you all along on this channel. A Canadian vlogger that has been living in Thailand for 7 years put it this way: expats leave Thailand because you're considered a farang, which really means you're a foreigner. Okay, so what does that mean and why does it matter? Well, in a nutshell, you'll always be considered a tourist or an outsider, and because of that, you will pay higher prices for virtually everything. We've only been saying this for 12 years. It's actually not exclusive to Thailand or any one place. The Canadian said he's been living in Thailand for 7 years and he is still considered a tourist and pays more for many things. He also said foreigners never feel like they fit into the community being a farang. There are various other reasons why people leave, such as legal uncertainty and property ownership rights being limited to foreigners. The Thai government and the people do not want their property bought up by foreign money from wealthier countries. This is actually a good thing for the people, which keeps property prices from shooting up in price, such as what's happening in neighboring Cambodia. By the way, Cambodia has been getting droves of foreigners just in the last few years, and some of them are buying up property, and well, you know the story. We'd like to say, do your investigation before moving somewhere to save yourself a big heap of trouble, time, and money. Number 1, Philippines. The Philippines has been generating a lot of foreigner vlogging traffic for the past 5 years. The Philippines has more vloggers moving there than probably any other country. Why? Well, because vlogging about the Philippines gets tons of views for some reason, more than anywhere else in the world. The problem is they all go to the same handful of cities and towns, and well, there's just so much people watch on the same places until after a while they all start sounding like a broken record. The vlogging world in the Philippines was getting so saturated, and the competition between vloggers was getting out of hand. Rumor has it the foreigners were fighting amongst themselves, so too much of a good thing can and does end ugly. But the big reason most of the vloggers are leaving now is because the Philippines has introduced a new tax law. The Philippine Bureau of Internal Revenue introduced a new law that requires a foreign blogger to pay taxes. Well, what do you know? Surprised anyone? The government has labeled vlogging as a business career. All foreigners who live and work in the Philippines must pay taxes on all monies earned inside and outside the Philippines. Consequently, most of the vloggers have fled or are now fleeing the Philippines. So what have we learned about moving to another country? And as we've always said on this channel, policies and laws change on a whim and nothing ever stays the same. It's a different landscape out there now. It's not the year 2000 anymore. So that's a wrap up for this video information. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.